All right. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all having a good night. Uh, we're going to be chatting a little bit and talking about some Silver Bullet tonight. And I've got my guest host here tonight with as Ed, Action Figs, as Lawrence is on vacation this week. And so we hope you guys enjoy the topic. Ed, what have you been watching lately?
Let's see. What have I been? I've been watching a lot of YouTube lately, but I did just watch Creature from Black Lake about a week ago. You remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, good '70s Sasquatch movie.
Yeah.
That's the movie that started it all for me. My dad took me to see that at the drive-in with my brother when I was probably like, I had to be like 4, you know. Of course, scared the living shit out of me, right? And then
Yeah.
for weeks after that, I wouldn't sleep. I had to sleep. Me and my brother shared a bedroom, of course, and I'd sleep in his bed with him because I was just scared shitless. But from that point on, man, Sasquatch was just like, I'm all in on it.
Nice. Yeah, my time with horror movies, I can't remember exactly where it started, but I believe the first one that got me really into it was Alien.
Oh yeah,
Um,
good one.
and I kind of went from there. I was like, I got fascinated by all that stuff, and then started going back and watching the old classic Universals. We do that every year. We watch all of the werewolf and Dracula and Frankenstein
Yeah,
ones, I guess.
Lon Chaney's the man.
Oh yeah, man, he played all of them. It's
Yep.
crazy. And Invisible Man, the first one, is good on its own. None
Yep.
of the sequels are any good.
No. But those used to be on like when we were kids, right? Those were on every Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
It was those or like Planet of the Apes or maybe a James Bond, right? I mean, that was
Oh
basically
yeah.
what was on. And then the
And
80s came, and then it was always like Stripes and Ghostbusters is pretty much
right.
every Saturday.
Well, yeah, because I remember the okay. So the very first movie that my parents took me to in the theater um, was a re-release of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, good one. Good one.
And the second movie that I ever went to go see in the movie theater was when we went down to Florida to watch STS-1 launch, the very first shuttle launch. And we went to go watch Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. And we went to Epcot Center that year too. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember. I think that was the first movie I saw, but the first movie I actually went to a theater and saw was probably The Black Hole. The
oh, I
Black
love
Hole.
that one. Oh, that's so good.
It was a sci-fi one. My uncle took me to see it. I remember that. And I remember when we left, it had rained and the whole parking lot of the mall we were in was flooded. So we had to run through like ankle deep water to get back to the car.
It's funny the things that you remember because going out to the shuttle launch, I remember us packing into this, white van with no seats in it and no windows. So we had some people from out of the country coming with us to watch it, and that's what we went to the movie theater in was the van with no seats in the back. Looking back on it now, I'm sure it looked really odd.
I was gonna say, yeah, the foreigners and then the little kids getting out of the want some candy van. Yeah, definitely.
Let's say hello to a couple people. I got PNC. Just watched this before the topic showed up. That's awesome. I love this movie. It's one in the series of werewolf movies that I really, really enjoy. And then Bruce. All right. Yeah.
I
Thanks for coming
forgot how
by.
crazy Gary Busey was, even when he was younger. You know what I mean? Like he played some like more straight line roles in between that, but like you see him in that, and you see him in the what was the one with Steven Seagal, Under Siege, where he plays
Yep.
the crazy general, and then there's a
Yep.
couple other ones, and it's just like I forgot that even back then he was like a loose cannon.
Well, I'll tell you this. My mom's boyfriend that she's had for the last 30 years grew up with Gary Busey in Oklahoma.
Really?
Yeah, he knows how crazy he was then. I mean, they were back in the boys days in Oklahoma when they're driving around pickup trucks, drinking beer, and then throwing them out the back of the truck and shooting them with shotguns because they were steel beer cans and they would always spark when you hit
Yeah.
them, right? But But yeah, that's an interesting story. This is also a Corey Haim movie, and man, you really see some acting from this kid that you might not expect.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff he does, you look at the actors today that are portraying Disney shows or whatever, and they're just wooden face. They no emotion, and from an image from this kid, you can see the concern he has for his sister, how he feels bad about stuff when we get there.
Yeah.
Like he cares for the people around him.
Corey was this Corey Haim especially. They were both good actors, both Corys, but Corey Haim was really a really good actor. Like even in the comedy ones he did with the other Corey, you could still see actual acting talent in that kid, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Anything else you got going on before we get started?
Oh no, not really. Just been enjoying my Cosmic Legions that I've been trickling in, and
Nice.
Did you get any
I
of
was
those new werewolves that are out? They've been showing the ones that are. Is that one of them?
Yeah. So this is the Fury Planet Veteran William
Oh
that
yeah,
has.
Veteran William.
Yeah. So this is This is going to be my figure of the year, I think. I've been waiting for him for so long. He's got so many options. You can have him completely unclothed. You can have him with the jeans on. You can have him with the jeans and the jacket and the cigar with the shotgun. You
Yeah,
know,
he looks good the way you have him with just the jeans on. Like that's how.
and that's the way I like to have them.
Yeah.
It depends on if I'm telling a story or something. Like I've got a whole theme where I do with Eric Draven the Crow and him teaming up, and so I put on the trench coat on
Oh yeah, that's a
William,
good idea.
have him running around doing stuff because there's a whole symbiotic relationship between crows and wolves and how they hunt and they kind of work together.
Yep.
So I like the idea of putting Eric Draven the Crow with a werewolf.
Fury Planet has done some awesome stuff so far. I want to get their Blade Master wing still, the Tiger Samurai.
Yeah, yep. He looks
haven't
really
pulled the
awesome.
trigger on that yet. But.
So this was my first venture into their field of stuff, and I love this one. People were talking about Crocker being so good, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool, but it doesn't hit me right. And then when they announced Ventured William, I'm like, oh yeah, dude, I'm on that one. All right, what's up, man? Good to see you here, GX Collector and Travis popping in. Good evening, Mr. Wonderful. Yeah, this might be the best episode yet. We shall see. All right. Yeah, I'm just doing my normal thing of taking photos every day, putting stuff out, trying to figure out what kind of schedule I'm on with between my GI Joes and everything else. But working. You know how that goes.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's get into it a bit. We've got a couple movie posters here. Really enjoy the painted artwork. That they used to do with those 80s movies posters.
Oh, for sure.
A nice simple one with just the rising moon. Those are all classic ones. This one was kind of interesting with the church stained glass window, putting everybody on there, kind of giving.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that movie poster. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. But it kind of gives away some of the movie. It's like
it does.
And then this was the book cover.
Of course, I guess if you read the book, you kind of know what's going to happen in the movie. But
well, yeah, I mean, there's always spoilers there. And then this is the most regular one, I guess.
I think that's the one that came out with the Blu-ray DVD release.
I believe so.
Cover.
Yeah, because it's definitely a newer version of it.
Yeah.
But this is another Dilo De Laurentiis project. Famous for Flash Gordon and Dune and Conan and Halloween and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, that Flash Gordon was one of my favorite movies as a kid, man.
I loved it.
I'm so happy Nick is doing the Hawkman.
Brian Blessed is an amazing human being too. If you've ever gotten a chance to meet him,
I've never met him. Awesome. My uncle met him and told me all about how awesome he is. So.
Oh yeah. No, Lawrence. This is not a prequel to Teen Wolf. Sorry. But I will say that the MTV's Teen Wolf TV series, I actually enjoyed a couple of seasons of that. It got a little weird at the end, but it brought us actors like Tyler Hoechlin, who later became Superman in the Superman and Lois show, which I also really liked because I thought he did a really good version of Superman.
Yeah, I watched the first season of that. That was pretty decent. The first season. I just didn't have MTV after that, so it was.
Yeah. You're not sure you've seen this, Eric? Well, that's some homework for you, buddy, because Silver Bullet is one of those pivotal werewolf movies that came out in the early 80s.
Yeah.
It's right up there with Werewolf in London, The Howling, and then created a legacy for later on for other movies like Wolf with Jack Nicholson. Was a little cheesy sometimes.
Yeah.
But my absolute favorite werewolf movie these days is Dog Soldiers, which is a British movie.
Good, yeah. I like the was it just called Wolfman with Anthony Hopkins and
so that was the Universal recreation or retelling of the original Wolfman. So yeah, that was just the Wolfman.
Yeah, I like
Allison
that one
Troy.
Too.
Hello, Allison. Good to see you. Thanks.
I just watched that a couple weeks ago too, as a matter of fact.
I watched. Yeah, me too. I go back and forth. I love the original one, but I also really enjoy the Anthony Hopkins one too. I thought they did some interesting things there. No, Larry tonight. He's on vacation. He's in a hotel right now.
You're stuck with me, Fat Red Foo. You could say, "Damn it, Ed." It has almost the same effect.
Damn it, Ed. All right, and then here's another artwork piece that I thought was pretty neat. It's got some pieces in there.
The little flags coming up is nice. Nice little touch.
Yeah, so it's got the little scooter there, or the Silver Bullet thing.
Yeah.
And the kite. It's got to have the kite in there.
Yeah.
All right, and then we start, and we see on the train tracks this guy who, looking like he's kind of drunk, walking up and down the tracks. And he's just doing his thing. Go ahead.
Was this like the was these tracks supposed to be like the grain tracks, or was like where they brought in the grain and stuff, or was this for a passenger train? I was trying to figure that out.
This looks like a factory warehouse grain
that's
facility
what I thought
type of tracks. Yeah, these aren't regular travel commercial tracks, which you would hire somebody to keep an eye on the factory at night and make sure the tracks are clear, so that no animals get on there or whatever. And he starts hearing some stuff and wandering around, and boom.
Yep.
Loses his head, goes flying through the air.
I'll tell you, for 1985, right? This movie had some really, there were some cheesy effects, but some of them, even up close, were really well done for 1985.
Yeah, I was looking at some of it today, and I was like, wow, this is. I mean, you look at stuff today, and everybody's doing CGI and stuff, but the people that are still doing practical effects can't quite make practical effects like they did back then.
Nope.
I don't know if it's materials or restrictions on materials or what, but or skill set. They don't have the artistry to play with it as much.
It's probably a little of both, because there's some things that they used to do back then that they can't even get those chemicals or materials anymore.
Yeah. Yep. And then you hear the howling through the town. You go through several people in the town. They stop and they look up in wonderment as this wolf is howling.
I love these two guys in the barber. They're just kind of doing their thing, and all of a sudden they hear it, and they both and they freeze there for a good 30 seconds on these guys just sitting there.
Right. And then you see the re-elect Mayor O'Bannon, and that's the mayor there. And he's a pretty well-known actor too, but he has such a small role in this film. I think it's kind of funny. And then the next morning, we find the guy on the tracks. And, we know what happened. And then we jump to, setting up for a town social event.
That's right.
Everybody's coming together. We're getting some narration here too. And and the woman basically identifies herself as the sister of 1976. Now, this is Stephen King, so all of the Stephen King universe is tied together, and so this town is in the mix of that that main northeastern towns that he goes through. And so she talks about the boogeyman and all that kind of stuff. They do the killing begins, and then they blame the accident. He's a drunken idiot, so he was just drunk and fell in the tracks, and he got killed. So they kind of blame it on that. And then that's where we get the Tarker's Mills, Maine. So it's a mill town up in Maine, and that's what sets it kind of in the time frame or in the area of all the other things.
God, I miss those old small town socials like that.
Right? I know, when you could actually get together and have a block party or something.
Yeah. Actually talk to your neighbors.
Hey, actually talk to your neighbors. Wow, no. No, this is not The Howling. This is Silver Bullet. I do love The Howling also, but a slightly different movie. We may talk about that next year. And then you've got the people in the town. You've got the sheriff. You've got the guy who wants to be sheriff, the mayor, and the local priest. Stranger danger. Yes, exactly.
Yep.
And then this is a time when people cared about each other. You could see all the community that's there. It's really it's
they all
nice
went to the same church. They all went to the same picnics. They all went to the same everything.
Yep. Then they have the baked goods and then you got the girl, the sister having to go take care of her brother because she doesn't want to be there, and her parents said, "Go take care of your brother." And one of her school-aged friends is making fun of her for taking care of her crippled brother.
Yeah. Look at that
snotty
hair.
Brat. I know. I had to stop on there. Look at this snotty face and that hair. I mean,
yeah. We all had hair like that with the space between our front teeth.
Oh yeah. Well, it's to show our sexual prowess, right? The space between the teeth.
Check out my feather.
Then the sheriff starts making a speech, passes it off to the priest, and then the sister wants to leave. She's bored, all that stuff. Then you get the prank, you get the snake, and you get the kids. The boys are like, "Yeah, let's do something fun with the snake." And so the sister comes walking by, taking care of her brother, and they scare her so bad she falls in a pile of mud.
Yep.
Ruined her stockings, and you can see that he's like, "Oh, this went too far. This isn't what I expected. It's not what I wanted." He's just disappointed in himself for being a part of it, kind of. And you see this other kid is kind of instigating all this stuff.
Yeah, you can actually see, like, in this scene, and then there was the one. I think it was at the end when right before he shoots the Wolfman, that you can see, like, just him showing the concern for his sister when she's getting yanked up off the ground by the wolf. It's like he does a really good job.
Yeah. No, you can definitely see how well he conveys all that emotion. And then she's got ruined clothes. Marty feels bad. Janie starts crying and goes over in the bushes. And what does she hear when she's over in the bushes crying? Yeah, that little punk right there.
Yeah.
What does she hear? She hears a domestic dispute. The girlfriend is pregnant, and the guy's like, "That ain't my kid. You can't prove it's my kid. I want nothing to do with this." Like, wow.
1985, man. That's how all of them were.
1985. Paternity tests were a little expensive back then.
That's right.
And usually had to be court ordered. But But then we get this, and you get Janie talking about you always take his side because he's crippled. I mean, just throwing it all out there is like, hey, what about me? You're paying so much attention to him.
Yep, typical teenage girl back then.
Well, family dynamics, right? I mean, and also the two sibling thing. So if you have two siblings, you've got the older one and then the younger one, and the younger one gets all the attention because they're the younger one, and they expect the older one to take care of the younger one. And there's a whole power dynamic there that strains all the relationships.
I was a middle child. I had it the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was the younger one, so I got all the attention, and my sister's still bitter about it today. But then you get go ahead.
I was going to say, my older brother got to do everything, and my younger sister was spoiled to hell. So
you had the most lockdown, right?
Yeah, I had the most, My brother always credited himself for blazing the trail because he was a really bad kid. So there wasn't much I could do that was worse than him, but
and then you get the threat of physical violence that she's going to get smacked. And Marty even tries to apologize here because he's trying to convey he's remorseful over what happened, and it wasn't entirely his fault, but he was complicit, and he takes responsibility for it. Which amazing thought, taking responsibility for your actions. Anyway,
right? Driving around without seatbelts on.
No seatbelts. Yeah. No windshield either. Oh wait. Yeah, that's for the camera.
Yep.
Then
Manly
they pull up to the
truckster.
house. Yeah, I got to have that station wagon back then, right?
That's right.
Pulling up to the house, and the parents are getting the groceries out, and they're like, "Okay, Jane, you get your brother," and she's like, "I got to do everything around here," as a spoiled teenager would say.
Yeah.
And so she's got to go get him out and put him in the wheelchair. She also is showing that despite this frustration, she does care for her brother. It's not this, I just completely hate you.
Yeah.
And then the first mention of Uncle Red, and she's kind of apologizing for the way he talked to her little brother about his uncle because he really idolizes his uncle. And she was kind of mean because he's getting a divorce, and his third divorce, I think they said later. And so she's got to wheel him up the ramp, and then we have the full moons out. This is what happens. That's when the apology happens and all that stuff, because he comes in and tries to sneak in some money to pay for the pantyhose that got messed up. And she wakes up and sees what he's doing and says, "Well, I only need this much," and gives him back the change for it. Says, "I can go to the discount store and get them tomorrow." Seeing how sweet her little brother is. That's when she apologizes for the way she, mouthed off to him about, his uncle being a deadbeat.
So anybody that thinks us kids in the 80s were spoiled, this poor girl had to buy her own pantyhose. Mom wasn't even going to buy them for her.
Yep. She gets basic clothes, basic food, and shelter. I mean, that's all that's required, right?
That's right.
She has to buy all of her own movie posters, which we see later.
Yep.
And then the god-awful decorations in this house. I mean, they are totally, early 80s type of stuff with all the floral printed stuff and everything. It's like, and then we get the woman who we saw earlier pouring out a bunch of pills. Old woman's playing piano downstairs. She's going to take those pills and basically she's going to kill herself. She's determined he's not going to be with me, support me. I can't do this on my own. She's kind of given up on all of it. And, there's the picture of the guy in the background that we saw earlier. She has a nice picture of him. So clearly they've been in a relationship for a little while, but, why are they not married?
Who is this girl anyway? Do you know who the actress is?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
I was going to look it up after I watched this last week, and I forgot to look it up. She looks familiar, but I
I'm
can't
sure
place
she's
her.
been in some other stuff.
Yeah, she looks like
That
the
we've seen.
atypical horror movie type of actress.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So you just
The
never know who
sacrificial
pops up.
actress.
The sacrificial, yeah,
Look
yeah.
at that.
So,
Still a black and white photo, too.
well, yeah, that was back in the day, you could get those printed off cheap, right?
Yeah.
But yes, I'll have to look that up later. I'm sure because I know she's familiar from somewhere.
Yeah.
And then we have something prowling in the bushes, sneaking around, and then all of a sudden, it decides to climb the lattice.
Yeah.
There's there's something more strange coming on here, right? I mean, this thing has purpose and thought.
Yeah.
The first guy was a drunk. Now you've got this pregnant lady. Why he's going to kill a pregnant lady? Jumps through the window, smashes through, snarling teeth. This is the first time, little pieces of them, and then we get to see, you know, her getting torn apart by the werewolf, and then the eyes. Got to see the eyes.
They did a really good job of keeping what the actual wolf looked like, the total wolf, hidden for quite a while in this movie.
Yeah, yeah. I've got another image later, just the reflection and all that kind of stuff. I think that they knew the limitations of their costume and makeup that they had, and they used that to the best effect. And I think that's a more effective way to do a horror story is that you create the suspense by not showing it.
Yep.
Because once you show it, it's over. Well,
that was the whole thing, like with Creature of the Black Lake, right? They only showed the whole monster like once, and it was in a shadow on top of that, right? The rest of the time, it was just its hairy arm or, the back of its leg or something like that. It was like...
Yeah, and that's what makes it the most suspenseful is because your imagination does more than actually seeing the thing. And that's what made Alien so great. And why Aliens, the sequel, was so good is because you already kind of knew what it looked like, and now you're just doing a totally different type of movie.
Yep.
I thought that was great. But yeah, we do kind of get to see him here.
Yeah.
Right. As he's finishing the job. And then mom comes running up the stairs. First thing she does is grab the pistol as she runs up the stairs. I mean, everybody's armed, right? You got to have something to protect yourself.
You live in a small town of Maine. There's bears up there, man. You got to be ready.
Yeah. I mean, anything. You just never know. And so she comes up and finds the daughter. And, it's trauma because obviously that's her daughter and it's a big bloody mess. And then get the sheriff's office. We get the boys walking the dog, and then the front scene to the sheriff's office when they talk about Smokey Bear from the detective division is coming by at noon. It's like, great.
Yeah.
It's like more involvement, meddling in our stuff. The sheriff is clearly frustrated at what's going on because these are two, things that have happened, and one of them looks like an accident. One of them doesn't so much look like an accident.
Yeah.
And then we get the bar, and we get Andy, Mr. McMouth over here, spouting off every chance he gets to try and discredit the sheriff because he clearly wants the sheriff's job.
Yeah, he wants to be the sheriff.
Because he wants to be the big man around town to control everybody. And one of the deputies is sitting over there just kind of taking it, so to speak. And then one of the other guys kind of gets into it with him. And the bartender whips out the bat, the Peacemaker.
I love the Peacemaker.
I love the actor also.
Oh, yeah, that guy's good too. I love him, yeah.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
I love this guy. So many... And he always plays the gritty, gnarly old guy who's just going to smack the crap out of you.
Yeah, I saw him in a mafia movie where he was like that too, right? It was just...
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I love it.
Take you out if you don't shut your mouth.
Yep. But everybody's talking about we pay our taxes. He's trying to come up with all the arguments to rally everybody up around him. I mean, this guy's trying to incite a riot from this point for the rest of the movie.
Yep.
He's trying to incite a riot. The peacemaker ends that scene, gets everybody to cool off, and you see all the colorful bar paraphernalia behind her. Some of that stuff's pretty funny. Then we see Marty riding around in his motorized wheelchair. What kind of spoiled kid is this? Not only does he have a wheelchair, but dang, he's got a motor on that thing. It's a gas-powered motor.
Yep.
He's running around on this thing with.
Look at those bell bottoms.
Yeah, that's no electric scooter there. He pulls up with his friends and sees the cute girl, and
yep.
And that's the other thing that I noticed. It sounds like he's got glass packs on his wheelchair. And the way that thing sounds, it's like he literally put glass packs on there or popped some baffles out of that engine or something, because the way it rattles, you're like, wow, all right.
I just took it out of an old Chevy Nova. That's all,
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there were plenty of them around there for that.
Probably.
And so then, he does his little tricks as they're riding back. And that's when he's, talking about his uncle and all this other stuff. And then we find out why he was bringing the girl home is because she had to go by the house where the pregnant woman was killed. Right. So they have to go right by it. And she was freaked out by it. And so Marty's there for, emotional support, getting her through it, and so, she's worried about it, didn't know how she'd respond to going by there. Because it's a traumatizing event, And then we get to her house, and she's got this gnarly looking shed out back. And she starts talking about the noises that she's been hearing out in the shed. And that's when Dad comes out and yells at her and basically tells her to get her butt back in the house. So he's a real wonderful parent there. I mean, maybe protecting her from the boy that's bringing her home. I don't know. The guy in the wheelchair. I don't know. Is that much of a threat?
I kind of took that more as, with everything going on, kind of that he's just being, like, get your ass in the house because we have no idea what's going on. People are getting killed around here.
Yeah, I could see that. But from what we see later, I think it's something else.
Well, it's true. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, you see more of that later when they actually make a point of it, when everybody's really freaking out. All right, this is the first time we see it. He's running low on gas, so he's got to go by the gas station. So, that's a setup for later. As they did in the old movies, they used to set things up, create a premise, stick to a logic, foreshadowing. Yeah, but you set up a logic for the universe and you stick to it instead of trying to break your logic just because you got to tell a story point.
Yep.
And Virgil's service station pulls in there to chat with some guys, and the gas station attendant there is, we want me to wipe your windshield for you, making some jokes with him.
Yep. Gas is at 35 cents a gallon.
35 cents a gallon. Oh man, I remember 87 cents a gallon of gas when I was in high school.
Yep. So I tell my kids, we didn't make much money, but you could go fill your tank up for $5 and be done with it for the,
Yeah. It was, gas prices. Gas prices were, thinking about it today, comparatively, I'm sure there's somewhat relatable if you think about inflation and the way that has happened. But yeah, gas prices were crazy. I don't know about that. They did have unleaded gas at that time frame.
Yeah.
Fat refuse. But and then we get back at the house. We get a little conversation with Uncle Red, who's staying with them, and you got Marty drinking his Coke and Uncle Red drinking his wild turkey straight out of the bottle.
This is another
inappropriate jokes.
Yeah, this is another really deep scene, right? What happens after, like at the end of this scene right here?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because Uncle Red's telling dirty jokes, for lack of a better term, to Marty. Telling him stories that maybe a little bit more than he should know about, but he's loving spending time with his uncle, and his uncle's having a good time, so he's having a good time. That's all the kids see.
Yep.
They don't see all the other stuff going on. And then mom comes in and gets all upset at the brother and sends him off to bed and puts him on the lift. And every time I see this lift, I cannot not think of Gremlins.
Yep. Yep. Wee.
And then mom comes back and like, I don't want you.
Look at the red carpet on those stairs.
Oh, I know. Yeah, like I said, the decor in this is, it's right for the time.
Oh yeah.
I look at that, I'm like, wow. And that mom is staying home all day, and she's cooking and cleaning because she's got to vacuum those stairs a couple times a day with all the stuff that gets on there, I'm sure.
Hopefully they don't have a cat.
Oh yeah, no. Oh, that'd be the end of it. That little candy dish that's right there next to that lamp too. But yeah, we get the good night, and then we get the conversation.
Yep.
I don't want you drinking around him. It says, like, don't tell me what to do. You get this big conflict between brother and sister here. But mom's setting down the ground rules. Look, if you're going to be here, you're going to be hanging around him, you're going to follow my rules.
He does make a good point though on his side about how she needs to let him be a kid more than focus on just his disability, right?
Yeah, which is also the point his sisters try to bring up. And he doesn't want to have that burden from other people placed on him. He wants to be as independent as possible. As we see throughout the movie, he's trying to be as independent as possible.
Yeah.
He's not living on being pampered. He wants to be outside of that. He doesn't want to be held to a different standard.
Yeah.
And so he is absolutely right in that respect. But mom's also right to set those ground rules about.
Yeah. And of course, like you said, the jokes that he was telling were a little,
Yeah.
It's probably nothing that he hadn't heard in school or on the school bus, but coming from your uncle is a lot different than hearing it from the other kids. So,
yep. And mom's like, I'm responsible for how he feels when he sees you like this.
Yep.
And on one aspect, that's fair. On the other aspect, he doesn't see it the same way you see it.
Yep.
Because he's a kid and he's only seeing the lively interaction and positive interaction that he's having with his uncle.
Right.
He doesn't see the other side of things.
He's just having a good time hanging out. Uncle Red drinking the wild turkeys to him is no different than the Coca-Cola or root beer or whatever it was that he was drinking. It's just playing some poker.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's the same thing. And then it's all about that interaction. And if he's having a good time, they're both having a good time. Mom's scared that he's going to see his uncle the way he's living his life and, going through so many divorces and see that as a sign of giving up and that he's going to give up. And Red's like, he's not going to give up.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to let him. You're not going to let him. We're not going to let him give up is basically what he's saying, because he doesn't have that mindset. He has too much of a positive mindset.
Yeah.
And then, but she gets upset and says, he doesn't need to see it coming from you, watching you do it, and storms off.
Yeah. Something about how you're not going to be here tomorrow when I got to pick up the pieces, something like that too. So.
Well, she mentioned that I'm responsible for how he sees you every day. I'm responsible for, how he responds to all this stuff. Yeah. Yep. She's not having it. But, ground rules are important, but at the same time, you got to let the kid be a kid. And then we go back to the NWA.
Wow.
WWF. I look at that and I'm like, look at that TV. Yeah, I can remember. I remember that.
Those big honking bastards took 3-4 full-size men to move.
Oh, yeah. And then forever in a day, we had one that miraculously had a remote control, but it didn't work.
I
And
was gonna say,
so
were you the remote control? That's how it was in my house.
exactly, I'd be upstairs and playing in my room, and my dad would yell at me to come all the way downstairs to change the channel.
Yep.
And then we got a Betamax, and I was so excited because I learned everything about that Betamax like super quick, faster than my dad could learn about it. And so he'd yell at me to come change the channel. And so I'd go down and I'd put it on the VCR and set up the VCR to control the TV and hand him the VCR remote and said, "You change the damn channel," and took off. And that's all he really wanted me to do was give him the remote. But I had to set it up because he didn't know how to set it up.
I remember I was young when my one uncle got the first TV that I ever saw with a remote. And he had me convinced, because I was young, that there was a little elf living in his little box, and he'd just tell the elf to go change the channel, and the elf would zip really fast, change the channel, and come back before you could even see it. And I was convinced he was telling me the truth because he said it was a straight face.
My dad told me this great story. We had this little red car. It began with an M. I can't remember the name. It was a 2-door little hatchback thing. And anyway, we'd be driving around, and he would do this stupid thing where he would touch the radio remote things or whatever and make the car talk like Knight Rider or something, and try to convince me that it was the car talking the whole time. I'm like, "Dad, come on." And then so we got the house, some noises going on, shed noises. The house shakes while the girl's dad, who's drinking beer, is sitting there, and you see he's got those rifles on the wall there.
Yep.
Gotta love. It doesn't. It's not Coors Banquet, but darn if it doesn't look like Coors Banquet there, doesn't it? But yeah, I got old fat drunken yelly dad.
Look at those beers.
I know, right? I noticed it right away. I was like,
suspenders on underneath the dress shirt.
Yep. Got to keep those pants up. He probably has ones for his socks too.
Probably.
So he goes out to investigate, the shaking and the noises in the shed, and he's looking around like, what the heck's going on? And the wind's blowing, and then
he's got a shotgun, of course.
He got the gun. He's got this spider, and then he shoots the pot, and then you see the wolf is there underneath, shaking everything in the shed greenhouse area, and then they get him. They go, scares the heck out of him, pulls him down halfway.
Yeah,
gets those teeth going. I like the way they did this shot here, because that's just all you need, right? You go from pulling them down to the teeth, and then you see him getting kind of torn up. Then we get Maniac claims another victim.
Damn maniac ripping people apart.
So I don't know. I mean, because they said the first one was an accident. The second two look more like something else is going on. So you can write off the first one, but you've essentially had 3 townspeople all die. You've got the drunken railway guy. Yep, the maniacs at it again.
But in the Wolfman, right? That's what they try associating it with too. That it's somebody that's got insanity, right? Not an actual werewolf, because they don't want to believe that it's a creature or a monster, right? So,
well, I mean, you have to go with the most reasonable, rational conclusion until proven otherwise.
Exactly.
Right? And so you have to go that route, because you can't jump to supernatural, because then everybody think you're just crazy, and you think you're
the crazy one,
a wizard, right? Right, yeah. But yeah, they got, so the reporting here, yields no clues. Basically, the police are incompetent, and so you can kind of see how Andy's kind of pushing his way into some of these stories here. And then you have the mayor's upset, and the sheriff and deputy are, they're doing what they can. You know, they're just, what can we do? You know, we're trying to find it, but then
Yeah.
we go right to shotgun sales, and guess what? This is Andy's shop, so he's making a
Yep.
profit on all of this chaos and mayhem as best he can by selling shotguns. And I'm sure those prices went up probably $50
Yep.
just for this event.
Single action and double action shotguns.
Yeah, yeah. And then, yeah, so we've got the shotguns.
You got to wonder though how many shotguns he actually sold, since everybody has 3 to 7 in their house anyway already. So I mean,
Well, you never know. He probably sold a bunch more ammo for sure.
for
But if they only had hunting rifles or pistols, then they'd probably want a shotgun now at this point. They're like, hey, you know, might as well get one of these.
Yeah. My 22 isn't gonna cut the mustard for this.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, maybe not. I mean, you know, it's effective enough for what, you know, but still something that has a little bigger radius, maybe.
Yeah.
Then we got the kid playing with the knockoff Joes and Hot Wheels cars outside.
Yep.
You know, I remember having a helicopter similar to that, I think.
Oh yeah.
But I also had the Dragonfly, so you know. And then mom comes out and grabs the kid, brings him inside, because this is the point which you see that people are starting to freak out. But yet you've got Marty, the kid in the wheelchair, who's climbing a tree somehow. How he got over there, I see how he gets down from there later, but how he got over there and up into that tree, I mean, did Brody help him get up there or what? I don't know.
That's the only explanation you could think of, right? Because there's no other way for him to get in there without.
I mean, his lats, I mean, he must have the biggest cobra lats that you've ever seen. I mean, boom, like that with those arms to climb up that tree, you know. And so he's up in a tree in this gorgeous location right by the lake there. And you see him up there, you know, fishing the kite out as his sister comes to find him. And then, you know, they're trying to because they were out there flying kites. And then sister gets him down, helps him out of the tree into the chair, and then gets the kite, and they're going off, and he's looking back at Brody, and Brody's sitting there flying his kite. Brady flying his kite all by himself. Like, all right, you're gonna just hang out there by yourself, all right?
Yeah.
And then we get Andy again talking about how incompetent the sheriff is and how useless the deputies are, and they're not doing anything. And he's stirring up quite a little ruckus again.
Yeah, it's getting the lynch mob going. Let's go get this guy.
Yep, we got to find him. It's our job to find him. We pay taxes. They're not doing their job, so we have to do it. You know? And then there we go. We're getting ready to get into the fist fight because the deputy is going to stand up for himself and for the sheriff.
And the deputy is another guy that was always in those movies in that type of role, right?
Always the same type of role. Yeah,
yep.
the overweight, semi-competent, if not incompetent person.
Yep.
Just making his way. And they put up Dukes, and then this weird egghead shaped, oddly headed.
Yeah, this guy was so bizarre through the whole movie, even after his, you know, what happens later on. It's just like,
yeah, you know, I mean, you know, in general, I see him playing weird characters. Also, I mean, he could have been an alien on Star Trek, easy.
Oh yeah, yep.
But you know, he comes in, he's like, "Where's my son? And you guys seen my son?" And they're like, "Wait, oh, okay, maybe we're not going to punch each other out yet." And then the sheriff comes walking by with a bloody kite. You know, Brady's bloody kite. And then,
oh, Brady.
Yeah, and so you know, we see the pavilion there with a body in it, and we can't see much about it, but we can see that there's a small body there, and we know that that's kind of the area that they were in flying kites earlier. And then the sheriff tries to stop the dad from going up there. and it's one of those traumatic things. It's it's your kid.
Yeah.
You want to see it. You
Yep.
don't want to see it, but you want to see it. You
want
have
to
to
see it, but you
know.
don't want to see it. Yeah. Because you don't want to believe it's real until you actually see it. So,
Yeah. And then I thought this next part was brilliantly acted because you see it, you acknowledge it, it's sinking in. This is your son. He's been torn apart
yeah.
by something. You have no idea what. But I thought the emotion that he portrayed here was, the acting in this movie was really good. I mean, that's what I got to say.
Yeah. For sure.
And we get the funeral next. you know, the you see the kids are upset. You see, Uncle Red is there, and you can see that he's like, this is too intense for me. I need to take a drink.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I made a promise. I'm not going to do it. So, he breathes his little little sigh there as the priest is making his speech, his eulogy for the young child. And this is the fourth eulogy he's had to do in a very short period of time. It's only been, a couple of weeks. I don't know. They didn't really give a good time frame about how long
No.
between each of these.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to tell the story, but you can imagine it. It could be every night.
Well, the other thing is, it's like Brady or Brody, whatever that kid's name was. There, he got killed during the daytime, so it's not even like this werewolf is out during different times of day, right?
Well, we don't know because remember, Marty was getting pulled out of the tree to come home for dinner. Dinner was waiting on
Oh
him.
yeah, so that could have been the next day they found the
So
kite. That's right. Yep.
So if he's sitting out there flying the kite, he's going to fly it till he gets bored or it gets too dark.
Right.
Once
Yep.
it gets too dark, he's going to pack up, and then
right.
that's when it happens.
Yeah.
So we don't know exactly when, but
so that's
somewhere in between that.
So it's at least one a night or farther apart than that. So it's been a good couple of days that this has been going on.
Right. Yeah. And we all know that the full moon only lasts 3 days. So,
yep.
But you see the kids there, and they're chatting back and forth, kind of, trying to help each other deal with the situation because she didn't like him. It was his friend,
Yeah.
But they're still like, all right, somebody died. This is serious.
Yeah. I think they both kind of feel responsible too, since they left him there alone. So.
Yeah, I mean, they were the last ones to see him.
Yep.
So that if the police knew that they'd be questioning those kids. But it's like, we used to fly in his kite. We went home for dinner. Yep. He didn't want to come. He stayed out there by himself. And why'd you leave him by himself? Then you get all this guilt.
Yep.
And this trauma based off of that. And now you get another view of the townspeople. And this guy, I love this actor, but he always has the best grumpy faces. I mean, his face was made for making those sourpuss faces.
I don't think if he smiled, we'd even recognize who he was. So
probably not. And then as we're getting out of the church, you get Uncle Red convincing Mom, hey, let me take the boy. It's been a traumatic day. It's a lot for everybody. I can bring him home. I'll take care of him with the wheelchair and everything. You guys don't have to deal with it.
Yep.
You go do your thing, and I'll take him. And he convinces her, okay, all right. So it was really a good thing that he didn't, start drinking in the middle of the service there. And then they start chatting on the way back. And he's like talking about, we got to go get this guy, this is a bad guy. And then Marty's like, what if it's not a guy? And he's like, what are you talking about, kid? I mean, you got to go with what you know, the most rational, reasonable thing. And to think of something as a werewolf, you can't just say, yeah, okay, it's a werewolf. You can't play it mind, because that's putting all kinds of thoughts in the kid's head, and the kid's going down a route that it's like, well, I don't know about that. Yeah, he's a monster, sure. I mean, whoever's doing this is clearly a
Yeah.
monster, but but Red kind of laughs it off, werewolf.
Yeah. But this is where he
And
gets the notion that it might be a werewolf. So,
well, Marty does. Uncle Red, no, he's not even close to that. But it's the first time it gets brought up in the whole movie.
yeah.
And so we don't know who else is thinking this. Couldn't be very many people. I don't even know where Marty gets the rationale to come to that conclusion, because he wasn't present for any of this. He hasn't seen any of this.
Yeah, he's probably supposed to be one of those kids that just reads a lot of comic books and stories and stuff, and it's like, what else is going to tear people apart, right? And it's been the full moon, so
Yeah. I mean, he's making some connections for sure, but it's like it's that combined with hey, does he have some kind of connection to things? Maybe a little
yeah, a little,
ESP or
yeah.
something.
Which for a Stephen King book, right, that would fit right in with the whole Stephen King universe.
Yeah. Actually, Fat Red Foo, I decided the movie for tonight because I knew Lawrence couldn't be here, and so we reached out to Ed to decide, and I went back and forth between Billy Jack and Silver Bullet, and Lawrence has never seen this movie, but he was trying to watch it before this because he was actually interested because he learned it was Stephen King. He will eventually watch this movie, I'm sure. But
And Lawrence also thought it was a prequel to Teen Wolf, so that's
so
why
yeah,
one of the other reasons he wanted to watch it.
And then wait.
So yeah, I mean, it's probably somewhere in the story, and I never read this actual book, but it's probably somewhere in that story that he's at least in touch, or whatever you want to, ESP type of thing with what's going on, right?
Yeah, there's clearly something else going on for sure, and you just never know. Then I guess I didn't get any shots of this, but we get Tammy's house. You got noises at the greenhouse again. Got growling, and it's like her father was just recently killed.
Yep.
And then you go back to Red in the car, and you got to get that idea out of your head. Psychos, there's psychos out there. And then we come to the monster hunting party. You got a map of the town. You got the Andy's riling everybody up, getting everybody all upset with their guns, and they're making a plan. And the sheriff comes in.
No private justice.
No private justice. You guys can't do this. Let us handle this. You guys are going to go get hurt or cause problems or whatever. He's doing his rightful duty as sheriff to try and control the situation and prevent a mob lynching, as he even states. He said this would be like a lynching. That's not the kind of justice we want to represent in this town, because it leads to all kinds of bad stuff if you go down that route. And Andy's trying to call him out, saying, this is wrong. And then
this is a good part of the movie, though, because him and Andy are like face to face, and the sheriff's like, shut up, just shut up. And then the dad walks in. Yeah.
And he says, shut up is right.
Yep.
And then, you want to tell the dad's part here?
Yeah, all he says is he was torn apart. And then he's like something about how you want to go up to the cemetery, whatever some hill, I can't think of the name of it, and tell my son that, you're not doing anything and you can't do anything about this. You want to tell him that? I'm going to go get this son of a bitch.
Yeah, pretty much. He's like, it's my boy's funeral. He was torn apart.
Yeah.
you want to talk to me about upset and grief stricken? You don't
Oh
know
yeah,
what that even means.
that was a good line too. You don't know about grief stricken. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he says, you want to explain that to my dead boy about private justice? You want to go dig up his grave and tell it to his face?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is really powerful, the way he
Yep.
comes in and brings that in there and basically gives Andy the vindication justification
Yeah.
for what he's been saying. And the
But
sheriff has
this guy
got no
right
retort.
here, the guy that's doing the dad, he played that part. I mean, like you could see in the pictures a little bit, but like in the film, like his eyes are welling up with tears, you know what I mean? Like, and you could feel that anger and sadness and all of it just in that, you know, what, 3 minutes worth of film that he makes this little speech in, right? I mean, it's just for
Yeah.
a little horror movie, you know, it's like, wow, that's deep.
Yep. Yeah, Bruce, he sure did. Harmony Hill is
Harmony Hill,
the
yep, that's the one.
cemetery that's there, and it's the same one from Salem's Lot. Like I said, this is all part of Stephen King's universe, and so he connects all of his stories with different places and times. But yeah, no, he did an amazing job at the death scene, and in this scene, I think. Yeah, I think the one a little bit later on is a little bit off, but for the most part, it conveys the emotion
Yeah.
that we're trying to get here. And then, basically gets in the sheriff's face and tells him off, and everybody's going to load up. And here comes the priest. The priest is trying to stop everybody, calm everybody down. He even begs the sheriff to, hey,
Yeah.
you have to stop this.
Yeah.
And there's no stopping them. I mean, they're enraged, infuriated. They're on a mission, and so ain't nobody stopping it. But yeah, the priest is pleading with the sheriff to stop it. But at this point, nobody can do anything about it.
Yep, which is ironic later on, right?
Well, exactly. Stephen King, the original multiverse? No, the Universal horror movies are the original multiverse because they connected the wolf, Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, put them all together with the Invisible Man, the creature from the Black Lagoon, and even later Abbott and Costello, if you want to get into it.
Yep.
But that's one of my favorites, actually. But
the Abbott and Costello
meets the Wolfman.
Meets the Wolfman, and I like the one where they meet the mummy too. They did them both.
Oh yeah. Well, so with Abbott and Costello meets the Wolfman, it's Frankenstein, Wolfman.
Okay, so that's what it's called. Meets
Dracula,
the Wolfman.
Yeah, and it has all of them in it. Yeah.
God, I loved Abbott and Costello.
Yeah, they were great. We got a whole box set of their stuff a couple years ago. It's awesome. I love it.
Laurel and Hardy's too is another one that I used to love watching.
Yep.
They just don't make it like that anymore.
They just don't. Hey, comedy is not the same anymore. That's for sure. And then you get the hunting parties. They're piling out in their vehicles, getting out there, walking through the woods. I love this scene. The way they had it lit with the fog and the lights and everything.
When they're walking through the really thick fog and they have the lights just underneath, like the top level of the fog, that is such a cool looking scene.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then they got the big Great Danes out there helping them.
Yeah.
And then one idiot steps in a bear trap.
Yeah.
And they put it. This is the first bit of real comic relief, right? I mean, he's got his foot trapped in the bear trap, and the guy's like trying to open it up, and something howls, and he's like, "Let's go!" The bear trap, and the guy's like, "Ah!"
Yeah. Good thing it was just a regular leg trap and not an actual bear trap, because it would have taken his leg off had it been a bear trap.
Oh, that's true. That's true. The force on that is crazy. But Andy's trying to lead everybody through there, and you see the bartender, you see the parishioners that we've seen walking around in the background there. Yeah, this is probably one of the ones you're talking about. They hear the howling, and Andy turns around. I love how that's all set up there. And then what do you know? The black guy gets it.
Yeah. He didn't die though. He just got scratched up. Or no, that's the other black guy that goes running off later on. That's right.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say this guy's dead. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure this guy's dead.
that guy got taken out. Yeah.
The other guy did live. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah, well, he wrote a lot of books, and they were all a part of a similar universe type of thing. You might say that. And he started writing in the 20s, I believe. And he has that Cthulhu mythology, which is fascinating to me. There's a movie called Color Out of Space. It's taken from one of his stories, and it stars Nicolas Cage, and it was released a couple years ago. I love that movie, and it is that one and The Thing are the two best Cthulhu-esque Lovecraftian movies that I've seen.
I never seen the one though. What is it called? The new one, the recent one.
Color Out of Space.
Color Out of Space.
Yeah,
I gotta jot that down because that sounds interesting.
It's literally one of Lovecraft's stories, but it's about a small town, like a farmer, but he's in a small town, and
Right.
something comes down and it creates this weird light. It starts engaging with the environment and changing the environment and causing problems. I really liked that one, and it was the best modern one. And the person who directed that was going to do a trilogy. I don't know if he's still trying to do that or not because he got canceled by Hollywood, I think. But he was going to tell the third story was going to be called Cthulhu, and the second one, I think, was one of the witch stories or something like that. But anyway, I like Cthulhu mythology a little bit.
Yeah. Now, is this before or after? I'm trying to think in the movie. I got the timeline a little messed up. Is this before or after the guy says he's underneath the fog?
Well, when this guy gets killed is when they say it's underneath the fog.
Okay, yeah, it's right at right at this time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right here. The old guy gets scared, and his wife, girlfriend, whoever that is trying to convince him, "You pussy, you're gonna pee your pants."
yeah. That was great. What does she call it? You gonna make lemonade or something in
you're
your
gonna
pants?
make lemonade. Yeah, you're gonna make lemonade.
And then he's like, I can't move.
Yeah, he was kind of stuck. So another guy gets killed here. He just rips him down. Well, yeah, rips him apart because his face comes up here with the fog.
The best part is he says, Andy, back away real slow. And then he starts backing away, and then all of a sudden he just gets yanked back by the wolf.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, this is another one of those prosthetic. I mean, that's a half a guy's face. It's covered by the fog there, but you can tell in the action shot that is literally half a face and a bloody neck, as that guy's not long for this world. And then we see the pink beanie worn by the bartender. That guy gets taken down, and the werewolf picks up the bat and beats him with it.
Yeah. Well, he beats the wolf first. You see him get taken down, and then you see his arm hit the wolf a couple times, but you don't see it. All you see is the arm with the bat. And then you hear a thud.
That was him. Yeah, because I saw it as because the guy with the pink hat was like pulled under the fog, and then I saw the bat come up, and I thought it was the wolf that was doing that.
The bartender hits once or twice, and then the wolf grabs it and hits once or twice back.
Okay.
If you watch, you can see because I thought the same thing, and I was watching it with Luke, and Luke was laughing because he's like, well, at least the bartender got a couple shots in before he, was taken out. I was like, he did, and then we rewinded it and watched it. It was so the bartender gets like one or two shots in that are, just
nice
like this, and then you see the wolf hand come up with it, and he's just.
Well, I'm glad he got a couple shots in.
Yeah.
I like this scene, Jason Voorhees style. Well, there goes the personal justice.
Yep. Yeah,
well, H.P. Lovecraft can be a little challenging to read sometimes, but he's a different type of prose for sure. And he uses language of the time for a lot of the things, and a lot of people are upset with his use of language, and his view of minority people was not the most positive one because he didn't have the most positive experiences for the most part. It's kind of indicative of the time, but when he talks about some of his stuff, it's sometimes people are relating it, but they shouldn't. But anyway,
well, I have the same problem with people
story.
that get upset about Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn using that, some
Yeah,
derogatory terms. It's like that's how people talk back then. Wrong or right, that's how they talked, right?
right. And that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be that time capsule. You can't
Right.
be afraid to look at history for what it was, what it
Yep.
is. Yeah. And then what do we get? We get the mass funeral scene. And so you got the priest giving this big mass funeral. And then you start seeing everybody turning into werewolves.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
What a great scene that was.
Everybody's got some makeup on. Everybody in the town. I thought it was awesome. Watching everybody freak out and start changing.
They did a really good job. Like a couple of the people, they show like their hands transforming.
Yeah.
Right? They did a really good job with that whole effect.
Yeah. I enjoyed that scene. I was like, that's pretty cool. They've learned a lot in that transformation process. I still say American Werewolf in London has the best werewolf transformation.
That's a really, really good one. That's a really good one.
But you got to love Rick Baker and some of these guys that came up with all this stuff.
Yeah.
But then you realize it was a nightmare. That's not exactly what happened. But the priest is really disturbed by what's going on because, well, he's the priest, right?
Yep.
I mean, he should be. Nightmare fuel, Eric Thurman. Yeah, I mean, literally, he was having a nightmare.
Yep.
And then
that scene reminded me. Did you ever see that show? It was on Netflix maybe a year or two ago, where the priest went over to like Egypt or something, and he came back younger than he was when he left.
No.
Oh, I don't want to say anymore because it'll spoil it. But it was a Netflix show. Let me figure out what the name of it is. I'll send it to you on IG. It was like a 6 or 8 minute, 8-part miniseries. It was really, really good.
Okay. Nice.
But it ties into that whole monster thing, of course. But I won't say.
Did you ever see the British miniseries? What was it? Jekyll.
I think I watched 1 or 2 episodes of that, but not the, like maybe the first part of it or something. But
I thought that was a really interesting take on Jekyll and Hyde, and that's the same guy who did a lot of the really popular Doctor Who in that time frame too.
Yeah, there's some really good actual like horror, suspense, whatever you want to call it, type of series and stuff that come out of the UK.
Oh yeah.
They really have a different spin on it,
Well, yeah, like I said, I mean, Dog Soldiers was one of my first entries into that type of stuff, and I'm like, that's amazing, and I like their take on it for sure. It's different.
Yeah, Fat Red Foo. See if you can remember the name of that thing, because you know which one I'm talking about, obviously.
Yeah, because I'd be interested in watching it. That sounds cool. Then we get the fairgrounds. Fireworks canceled. The Gala Fair, October 1st, is not happening.
Nope.
And Marty's not real happy about it.
Yeah. Look at that. They got the whole fair set up, fireworks. October 1st, which is an odd time of year to have fireworks in the fair, but
hey, what most state fairs are in the fall, right?
Well, true, but they're in Maine.
October's a little cold in Maine.
Yeah. it could be like 25 degrees at that point in time.
Yeah. Most fairs are, I think, around that September time frame. Yeah, that's probably right.
Most of ours up here in New York happen around August 1st to August 30th because it's and then the state fair is like the last or the first week of September, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
But our schools start the first week of September, so they usually try to get them in before then. So
Yeah, because Texas State Fair runs for 4 weeks, and it's funny. I always tell my wife, I said, can't go on first week, can't go on last week, can't go on Texas OU weekend. So that leaves us 1 week time frame to go.
yeah, I went to the Texas State Fair when I was there. I was at Fort Hood. I think 97 I went. 97 or 98 when I was no. Had to be 96. Yeah. 96 I went.
Yeah. And that was before they replaced Big Tech. So now they've got a new Big Tech, and it's just not the same. The fair's fun though. And then we have the family barbecue.
Midnight Mass. That's what it was, Fat Red Foo. Thank you.
Midnight Mass. Okay.
Midnight Mass. Yep.
All right. I'll check it out. They're sitting there talking that the monster killed Brady. The fair's canceled. No fireworks. And then what did he say? He said, then Marty starts complaining about his sister getting a new dress because all it does is show off her tits.
Typical sibling stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and he clearly, I mean, it's not just from Uncle Red that he learned that. I mean, clearly that's a school thing.
Yeah.
But here's Marty working with his uncle. His uncle's underneath the garage, coming back and forth, grabbing tools, and you're like, what the heck is he doing without the garage door open, working on something? And then you want to see it? And it's like, well, that's an odd question come from Uncle. Anyway, different story.
Yep.
And then we get the silver bullet. Even though his previous motorized wheelchair said silver bullet on the back, this looks to be like the legit silver bullet that Uncle Red has made for him. So clearly Uncle Red is handy with mechanical things. He's good at building stuff because he put this interesting vehicle together for his nephew to break his neck on.
Yeah, as they said in the Grease Lightning song, it's a really cool pussy wagon, right? This will definitely get him the ladies.
Oh yeah, pussy magnet. It's an ass kicker, is what he says. Yeah, says, "You ready? You feel like a virgin on prom night." And then, basically, it's a 3-wheeled motorcycle. He says, "I'm in." So he's getting it all set up, showing him how it works, and then he pops a wheelie and he's
off. Smoke coming off that thing.
And I'm just thinking to myself, I mean, how old is this kid? He's going to break his freaking neck. I mean,
right.
He didn't do it right there.
No helmet.
No helmet. How does he know how to pop a wheelie in this motorized version of the thing? Yeah. I mean, wow, it's nuts. He drives around, spins around, does a U-turn. He drives around town, passes a couple cars. You see it's got some speed to it.
Yeah.
But the kid loves popping his wheelies. Then you come back and see Uncle Red like have a heart attack there. And he's like, hey, you got to be careful with this. Otherwise, I'm going to be singing soprano in the boys' choir.
That's right.
But, Red's got to go. He gives his nephew the talk. Hey, you got to be careful with this. You got to, you can have it, but be responsible.
Yeah. Nothing like your mom's going to kill me when she sees you pull up on a chopper.
Well, I mean, he did mention that his sister would probably cut his balls off if anything happened.
That's what I mean, though, right? It's like he doesn't say anything to the kid about it other than, hey, your mom's going to cut my balls off if you get hurt.
Right.
Send the kid home on a chopper. Here you go, kid.
And then you have dinner, and dinner is wonderful, and everybody has a great barbecue. It looks like a good spread. And then Uncle Red's got, I got to go. Time for me to leave. And they're like, if it could only be like this all the time, this is the good stuff. You're not drinking. Everybody's having a good time. It's all a family thing. And then he pulls Marty out there to give him a pack of explosives. I mean, fireworks.
Yep.
And he's sitting there, put it on there, telling him again, give him the riot act in terms of being safe on this motorcycle that he just gave him. I mean, Don't lie, that's a freaking motorcycle, or a trike. You can call it a trike if you want. And then he just gives him a bunch of fireworks to go blow shit up with. And what does the kid do? Sneaks out of the freaking house. Like I said, this guy's got the best lats of anybody. Those arms are got to be ripped because he's hauling around that little body up and down, just using his arms, climbing up scaffolding, back and forth. Doesn't think about how tired he's going to be afterward, whatever.
Not making any noise to wake his mom up.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he's a ninja, right?
Yeah.
He's a ninja without the use of his legs. But you see the enjoyment he gets, that he had it all set up, that he slides right down off that scaffolding into that bike.
Yeah.
And then you see him riding off there, and you see this look on his face like, this is freedom. You know,
yeah, he's pretty happy in this scene right here.
Nobody helped him get there.
Nope.
Nobody's stopping him. Nobody's around him. He can do whatever he wants right now. And this is the heart of freedom. This is the heart of independence. This is like, hey, I can do this stuff. I've been given the freedom to do this stuff now with this motorcycle. It's even got a headlight. And so then he goes to the bridge. So he's over water. He's doing it as safely as he can, right? He's going to light off some fireworks and have a good celebration because the town canceled theirs.
He doesn't back up too far from the fireworks either. After he looks.
Well, he did, but he does back up, right?
Yeah.
He lights it and he does back up, right?
He tries.
He tries. And then you see the reflection of something stalking him. It's nearby.
Yeah.
So you don't get a good picture of it, but then you see the eyes. I like this shot because I think those eyes are about perfect.
Those eyes are awesome.
Yeah. It's just amazing the makeup that they did right there. And then he sees it.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I don't know why, but for some reason I get Mary Lou Retton vibes from this scene and the next little part.
Yeah, but they did a really good contrast here because they show him shooting off the fireworks, right? And they show him laughing and having a really good time. You know, he lights off 2 or 3 of them, right? And then he sends that one up into the air, the whirly, the whirly gig or whatever. And that's when he looks and sees that the thing's coming up the bridge.
Yep. But he still got the big one. You know, the one that Uncle Red was, it's essentially just a bottle rocket, but whatever. And then there he goes. He does the stupidest thing possible and holds onto the freaking thing as he lights it and sends it off.
Yep. I guess
if you
holding a firework right and getting attacked by the Wolfman, I guess you got to make your choices.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he would have really seriously burned his hand, but if you look at that real closely in that image right there, that doesn't look like his hand. I'm just saying.
Well, it also depends on how big of an actual fuse it has. I mean, I used to shoot bottle rockets off my baseball hat wearing it on my head, but if the fuse isn't too bad, it's not going to be too bad. If it's one of the big suckers, like they made it out to sound like it was going to be, right? Then it would be a different story.
Yeah, but that looks like a simple little pissant bottle rocket, right? It's funny because I used to do laser fireworks shows, and so we were launching 50-pound mortars into the sky for fireworks shows. Those were fun to set up. But yeah, I mean, bam, he launches it right out of his hand, and guess what? It goes right into his eye. Bam, nails him in the left eye. Look at that thing. It is not happy, but it gets him out of there. It gives him enough distraction to turn on that massive machine and crank up the engine as high as it'll go. And
he takes off.
Burn rubber, yeah. So what's the next thing he does? He goes home, climbs back up, and freaks out.
Yep.
As one would after a traumatic event. You know, I mean, I thought he did a great job of representing that. Hey, this is messed up. Going back for such a young actor to come in there and again present that much emotion about things. You know, and then what does he do? Calls Uncle Red. Yep. And Uncle Red is got his bottle of wild turkey and his woman next to him.
Yeah, a couple of stogies smoldering in the ashtray.
And he's trying to listen to him, and you know his nephew's telling him he saw him and he did all this stuff, and he's like, he doesn't believe him. You know, he doesn't want to listen.
Yep. Well, he's hung over and sitting next to a prostitute. He doesn't want to listen to anything about a werewolf.
I don't know. He's a pretty happening guy. He may not have been a prostitute.
Well, true, but
it could have been his future fourth ex-wife.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, I mean, he did score 3 other ladies beforehand, so I guess he has no problem getting the ladies, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. He's got some kind of skills, right? And then, so he gets off the phone, and Marty's kind of dejected, so he just goes out and kind of sits in the yard. You know, dad goes to work, and mom goes to the grocery store, and Janie comes out, and I'm like, it's October. Aren't you guys in school? Anyway.
Yeah. You know, they really don't do much with the dad in this movie, though.
No, they don't.
I mean, they show him driving the car once in a while. They show him at that barbecue, and that's pretty much like the only time you see the dad.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, well, and then, you know, when they get the trip, when they win the trip later.
Yeah.
Win the trip. And then he comes out, and then he spills his guts to Janie. He says, it's going to sound crazy. But, you know, she's asking him. She's actually legitimately concerned about why he's sitting out here just staring off into nothing as he's got that 1,000-yard stare from having PTSD from fighting off a werewolf last night.
Yep.
As one would.
Yeah. Knowing what happened to the other people that fought the werewolf and lost.
Yeah. You know, and so mom's out shopping. He's like, I got to tell you, Uncle Red won't believe me if you don't help me. And then we go into the narration again. You know, if the narration is awkward, but I think it kind of works in this movie. I don't know that we need all of the narration. It's kind of weird, but it kind of gives
It happens in a lot of Stephen King movies, though. So I think it's something to do with the way they try portraying the story that King's trying to tell.
I get it. You know, and sometimes exposition is necessary, and narration leads to some of that exposition.
When you're wearing a sweater vest like that, you can say whatever you want to say, man.
What, you didn't have one of those?
I had many of those.
I never had a sweater vest.
I probably had that shirt and that exact sweater vest in 1985 and that same exact haircut.
Yeah, my haircut wasn't too much different, but my hair was white at the time. So, but you know what? I may have had something similar, slightly different colors, maybe. But you know, basically, he's begging for help from his sister.
Yeah.
And then you get some narration, and basically saying, you know, I'm gonna listen to my brother right here. He needs my help, so she's gonna do her part. And then so she goes around, and you know, after telling the story, he's like, I shot him in the eye. He's got an eye wound. You know, whoever did this, I hit him in the left eye. And so she goes around, tries to see everybody in town so she can collect cans for the drive. You know, she knows she's going to be annoying people, but she's also looking. You know, she goes through the whole town and, you know.
Little undercover investigative work.
Yeah. And you know, little Babysitter's Club, little Nancy Drew.
Yeah.
But you see her, like, they build the tension in some of these scenes when, you know, she's waiting for the door to open. The person opens the door. Okay, it's not this person. Oh,
Yeah.
but there's somebody else home. What do they look like? Are they going to be the person? Are they going to be there? Are they going to show their face? And they come around the corner. Oh no, it's not them. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're building up all this tension, and every time you're looking at it thinking, oh my gosh, is this going to be the person? Where's the next one? And so she goes through the whole town, collects everything, and doesn't see anybody. She's starting to get a little upset, saying, okay, my brother's lost it.
Yeah. Had a
I did
little
all this
nightmare or something last night. So
yeah, well, whatever, I've wasted all my time. Okay, I've done this thing for charity. I was going to do this anyway. Okay, that's a good thing. But, my brother's crazy.
yep.
I'm done with this nonsense. And so she comes by to give everything to the priest, and then she doesn't see the priest, but here we see the priest. So now it's revealed, okay, the priest did it.
Yep.
And so we know as the audience, but she doesn't know as Janie yet because she's going to go drop off these bottles and stuff.
Which makes the whole stopping the lynch mob scene really perplexing. Because was he stopping it because he knew what he was going to do to them, or was he just trying to stop it from his human side? Right.
It was probably a little bit of both. I think from the way they portrayed the character and the way he's spoken about to the movie to this point, he knows it's a part of him, but he understands it's also a part of nature.
Yep.
And so if you think about it to this point, and later on he justifies this, right? So he killed the drunkard because he was a drunkard. He was committing sin.
Yep.
And he was the easiest target. He killed the woman who was about to commit suicide so he can justify that I saved her soul by killing her.
Yep.
Because if I did it, then she wouldn't go to hell for committing suicide. Right? And then you get the punk ass kid who's terrorizing this town with all of his stupid pranks all the time.
Yep.
And so he takes him out. And then you have the lynch mob thing. He was being hunted and cornered. He didn't have a choice.
Yep. You also have the abusive father that he takes out because
that's right.
The abusive father.
Yeah.
Yep.
We can infer that at this point that he was probably an abusive father based on the killing pattern of the werewolf.
Yep.
He was definitely an abusive father. We don't have direct evidence of that, but there's a lot that we can infer from it. And then
so real quick, I saw Radnon popped in here.
Hey buddy, what's up?
Just saying hi.
All right. And then
this guy looks just as creepy as a human as he does as the werewolf, though.
Hey, this guy's been in some other stuff too.
Yeah.
And
you're
right. I agree. He's got the facial expressions and the ability to definitely look like a psycho. And I think it has to do with the at least 5 to 8% Neanderthal that he has in that forehead there.
Oh yeah, for sure. And
I've got a friend.
The big raised cheekbones.
Oh yeah. And with the sunken part too.
Yep.
That adds to it all. I've got a friend who did a DNA test, and he knows he's Scottish lineage for the most part, but he was so proud to announce that he was 5% Neanderthal, and no one was surprised. Everybody's like, well, that explains all of it. I mean, you do have a thick cranium there.
Only 5%, huh? That's what everybody's thinking, right? Only 5.
Well, what was really funny is that another friend of ours, the same martial arts group, did a kind of DNA test and traced his lineage back, and this guy traced his lineage back, and they found out that they were from the same Scottish clan. It's just one went to the Lewis side and one went to stayed on the McCullum side.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they had the same tartan. But yeah, so she goes back and she starts piling up the cans, and then a mouse scares her, and she falls back into the cans, and starts picking things up and trying to clean things up, and then she finds the peacemaker.
Yep.
There's only one person who has the peacemaker.
That's right.
And she knows who that is. And that was one of the people that was killed the night that they all went out hunting for this thing. So everything's starting to connect in Janie's head at this point. What her brother said, all these people dying, the peacemaker being here. Uh-oh, I might be in some trouble. There's some weird stuff going on here. And then he comes around the corner. Are you okay, Janie?
Yep.
And she's like, oh, nuts.
Yep.
Found him.
Son of a bitch. The last person anybody expects, right?
Right. And, the best place to hide, right, is in plain sight. And she's like making every excuse possible that she's got to go. I might be coming down with something. I spent too much time in the sun. I need to lie down. You want to lie down? I've got soda pop. You can come lie down. What a creepy Catholic priest thing to say. Anyway.
Yep.
I'll give you a ride home. Wow. Okay. That's creepy.
Here's a sucker, a can of soda pop, and I give you a ride home in my white van.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everything a creepy priest might say. And he is a creepy priest. So she's like, nope. Nope. And then he's like, give my best to your brother, because he knows.
Yep.
He knows that they know at this point. Because the brother knows. And,
that was so creepy too when he said that.
Yeah.
Say hello to your brother. Give your best to your brother. Oh shit.
Exactly. You're like, oh my gosh. Okay. So
look at that. A little James Dean action on the wall. Rebel Without a Cause. I know.
And I mean, you think about it. My sister had so many like David Bowie and Unicorn posters in her room at the time. This looks like an amalgamation of my sister's room for sure.
I have that James Dean poster.
And that Raggedy Ann doll that's there.
Oh yeah. And that wallpaper. I think we had something like that in our bathroom when I was a kid.
So my sister, she convinced my parents to do the Sunset Beach wallpaper. You remember what that one looks like? So it had the red and orange sunset with the palm trees on the beach. So that was one of her walls, was just that wallpaper. I was like, wow, looking back on it, I'm like, wow, that was cool.
Cool. That was a cool accent wall, right? That'd be a little much through the whole room, but as an accent wall, yeah, that'd be bitching.
Right. And I remember I had little sports players, hockey guys, football guys, all that stuff that I wrote on with a red crayon, and my parents got really
we had, I think we probably had the same one, because we had football players, baseball players, and stuff on there. And then I think my mom, that was when me and my brother shared a room. And then when we put an addition on, my mom put some kind of like skateboards or something in my room. I'm like, Mom, I'm like 12. We don't do like little kid skateboarder like stuff, right? I'm like, Mom, I'm 12. We don't need skateboards anymore. She's like, but it was really cheap. I'm like, yep, we're not doing it. What color do you want? Brown. So she went out and found me some brown and tan wallpaper.
Nice. We had white walls in the rest of our house, and I took a little piece of a red crayon and just like walked across the wall with it. My parents were so pissed that they had to put up wallpaper after that.
I remember our living room had it was wallpaper on one wall, and then it was white on another wall, and then the accent wall was the oak colored paneling, the paneling you put up, right, that you nailed to the to the studs. Yep. Yeah. Sweet
all
stuff. All
right, Bruce. Man. Bruce likes his Coca-Cola. Remember back in the day when that was made with cocaine.
Oh yeah.
lots of Coke in the 80s, and then they came out with new Coke, and everybody's like, what the hell is this? And they tried to bring back classic Coke, and it just was never the same since.
No, I really like Coca-Cola Classic when they had that out, though.
Oh, yeah, the original, I like Coke Classic now, but, doesn't bother me either way. I know
when we were kids, though, my grandparents always bought like those 8-pack glass bottles that were like really tall. You remember those? So then it was me and my brother and my cousin were always like, let's see who could pop it, guzzle it down the fastest. So, we never tasted the damn thing anyway, right? It was like,
right. I'm with you, Fat Red Foo. I always like a glass bottle versus a can.
Oh, hell yeah.
I cannot drink soda out of a plastic bottle. I just can't. It just distorts the taste so much. I just won't do it. Yeah, Cocaine Bear. That's a whole other movie.
Yep.
That was
great
fun.
movie.
Oh, I enjoyed the heck out of that one. So they make their plan. They write a bunch of letters, and basically they do it serial killer style, where they take magazine and newspaper cutouts to write the letter for them. And then here's Janie kind of dropping them off in the mailbox, and she's like hesitant, like, is anybody going to see me doing this? She feels weird about it, because clearly there's something weird going on. But they're basically calling out the werewolf. We know who you are. Do you think he doesn't know who you are back?
That was my concern when they were doing this, right? Like, like he doesn't know who knows, right? He clearly saw the brother, right? Then Janie just happens to show up and acts a little weird when he's like, trying to help her. It's like,
Well, and then the line when she's walking away, give your best to my brother. She knows her brother shot him in the eye.
Yep.
So the other eye had to have seen what happened.
And he also obviously saw him before he shot him, right? I mean,
right. Yeah, exactly.
Look at this guy's face, right? This is just a creepy looking dude right here, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Did you ever watch the show The Expanse?
No.
It is a really good book series. The TV series was pretty good, but didn't cover all the books. But the main actor looks a lot like this guy in some ways.
Yeah, I know who that guy is. I've seen like the trailer and stuff for it. So
it's really the best physics that ever been put in a TV show about what space physics would look like. But anyway, it's very scientific. They did a lot of research on it. It's a good show. But clearly here the priest knows, everybody knows. It's a little bit awkward because the kids don't realize that the guy they're sending these to already knows who they are.
Yeah.
But here they go again. They gotta tell Uncle Red and about the letters that they sent. And Uncle Red is kind of pissed because he's like, what would you do if some crazy kids were sending you these letters?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, kids. Let's think about this for a second. I mean, what is this? So they go and spy on him and see what he's doing. It's like, what's going on here, kids?
Yeah. Uncle Red wants to believe him, but he's like, this is a little too much.
Well, he's trying to humor them, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's like trying to make it so he, doesn't hurt their feelings for what they believe in, obviously.
Right. And so he's trying to placate, he's trying to say, okay, we'll go do this, but you'll see that, nothing's happening. Nothing's going on here. And then, Marty's out watching his friends play baseball, which is also kind of weird because his friends know he's there, and they are his friends because they ask him out to soda pop or whatever afterwards. Yep. But the priest is watching him. Now that's not creepy. And then Marty doesn't even notice. He's just watching his friends play baseball. And then he takes off to go home, and the priest starts following him and chases, runs him down, essentially. There he is. There's that aggressive. This is a standard Stephen King camera angle here.
Yep. He's doing
And
pretty
then,
good with just one eye,
right? And
driving and everything. I mean,
well, I mean, it's depth perception, right?
yeah,
Yeah, you can't really stake out in a small town, can you? Everybody knows everybody.
yep.
And
Everybody
there he
knows
comes.
whose car is whose, and
Oh,
yeah,
right, exactly.
yeah,
Well, which comes into play later, right?
yep,
Um, he runs into this little abandoned, broken down bridge, and he's stuck because he can't get through because the bridge is all messed up. And here comes the priest as he walks up real slow and slides underneath and confronts him,
yep,
right? And they get in this confrontation, and Marty's like, "Shit, I'm out of gas. I can't go anywhere. I'm stuck." So we get this out of gas thing plays up again. Usually there's a three reference before or two references before the callback, but here we go. One reference before the
yep,
callback. Rules of three. But he gets in there, threatens him, and then all of a sudden this guy in a tractor pulls out, and Marty yells to him, and he's yelling, "How the hell does a guy inside a barn, a covered barn, yell to a guy on a freaking tractor? How does the guy in the tractor hear that?"
he ain't gonna hear it.
Yeah, he's not going to hear it. But
I can tell you, especially in 1985 tractor.
well, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, the loud tractor that is, and the fact that he probably already has hearing damage from the tractor for as
Yep.
long as he's been running it around, and that kid in the barn yelling and screaming, he's not going to hear nothing.
Nope.
But he hears it. He stops. He comes back in. The priest runs off, and he's like, "What are you doing in here, boy?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Give me a tow back to town,"
This guy is like the typical farmer too, right? He's got the squidded face and eyes glinted
Perfect.
from the sun. He's like, "Hey, what you doing in here, boy?"
Yeah, I mean, no, it was perfect. It got the overalls and all that stuff, and gets him back to town. And we got to tell Red. And so you get the sister back and what happened, and Red is still like, "Okay, I mean, you're back here. It's okay. I don't understand." But then he's examining everything and trying to piece out the story. He's like, "Well, shit. I mean, you got damage on here, and what color is the priest's car?" And it matches. Janie mentions the color of the priest's car because she knows, because everybody knows what everybody drives in
Yep.
town, because everybody knows it's a small town and everybody knows it. And he's like, "Well, shit. Okay, something happened here. So there's something to it." So he goes to the sheriff. And basically he tells the truth to the sheriff as the kids have told him.
Right.
And the sheriff's like, "You can't expect me to believe this." And he's like, "Look, something happened. This is what we know factually. Isn't it worth checking out?" And the sheriff agrees. He's like, "Yeah, I mean, that's enough for me to go, okay, we need to go at least talk to him and say, hey, where were you? What's your relationship with Marty? What happened this day?" It's enough.
Yeah.
And so he goes to investigate. And he's wandering around, and then he pulls it up and he finds the car. And he sees that there's damage.
Yep.
So he's
Sheriff
starting
actually
to get
doing his job for once.
right, right.
Andy would have been proud.
He was always doing his job, but he had little to go on. This is the
Right.
first lead he's actually had. And then, boom, there's the priest.
Yep.
And the sheriff is starting to put things together. And as he's putting things together, the priest is like, "All right, I'm going to just show you now. I'm going to change into a werewolf right in front of your face."
Yeah.
As he starts the transformation by taking the eye patch off and transforming. and just bludgeons him with the bat.
That's right. Gets taken out by the peacemaker.
Gets taken out by the peacemaker. The peace officer gets taken out by the peacemaker. And as he, I like this transformation and as they go through the phases of it.
Yep.
But basically, he beats the crap out of the sheriff and kills him. I mean, assumingly he kills him. I mean, we don't ever see him again. Nobody ever talks about him again. We don't see his death.
He did that last shot before he walked away too. He gave him one good last thump on the head with the peacemaker. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, we can pretty much know that he's dead. And then here we are talking by the lakeside again, and nobody's seen the sheriff. So more time has to have passed.
Yeah.
More time than just a day between these things has to have passed, because for the sheriff to be declared missing would have to be more than a day.
Right.
Right. And so things are happening in this town. And no timeline is ever
right.
asserted.
You're talking at least 24 to 48 hours after the sheriff was last seen by somebody else, right? So
right, exactly. Yeah. And if Uncle Red was the last one to see him, well, that puts him on the list, doesn't it?
Yep. Exactly.
And then the kids give over their Silver things and said, hey, if this is a werewolf, Silver kills werewolves, because Marty's a comic book guy. He's watching Universal horror movies, and so he gives him a medallion, and Sister gives him one too. And he's like, hey, go do something with this. Help us with something. And so Uncle Red does what an uncle does. Placates the kids, takes it to the smithy, as close as you get, I guess, in this town, right?
Yeah.
And here's a Thanos copter scene right there. I think that was a phallic looking symbol there. There you go, Thanos. Goes through and makes a silver bullet. And then he has the conversation, and Red's trying to play this off as, hey, my kid's a Lone Ranger, or my nephew's a Lone Ranger fan.
Yeah.
He wants a silver bullet. And then he comes back and they're talking, and, the guy says, or killing a werewolf.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I don't know about that. Whatever.
He says it's something like it's a low discharge or something. Isn't that what he says?
It's a low grade load, so it won't tumble as it goes. So it's going to shoot straight.
Yeah.
So he's loaded it in a proper way to get the right blasting effect with it.
Yeah, and Uncle Red's like, it's just a prop or a prank or whatever he calls it.
It's just a gag.
Yeah, gag. That's what he says. Yeah, it's just a gag.
Yeah.
Or to kill a werewolf.
Or to kill a werewolf. And he's like,
yeah.
And then it's Halloween. So
I love the fact that the guy that makes the bullet though is like, boy, this is one of the nicest things I've ever made.
Right. He's very proud of making a single bullet out of silver.
Yeah.
All right. That's cool. So we know that at least 30 days have passed, more than 30 days. So we're still in the month of October because it's coming up on Halloween. Got the pumpkins out. And the parents won a trip, which we find out later that Red obviously gave them a trip based off of stuff that he had. It's basically just a ploy to get rid of the parents. You send them on their way. And so they're off on their trip, and now the two kids are home alone with Uncle Red. Well, they were threatened this last time, right? They knew that the werewolf was coming for them. And here they are, all waiting up for him and all passed out. We got everybody passed out. And, I love these pictures because this looks like something that you would take in the 70s or 80s with a camera when you're taking a picture of everybody surrounding the Christmas tree.
It looks exactly like something you'd go develop on, 35 millimeter film.
Exactly. Yeah. No. And then, I mean, the lighting and everything looks like,
Yep.
Mama's old flash from her Nikon or whatever.
Yep.
And, oh, look at the kids. They're sleeping, around the Christmas tree. And then, Red's cigarette wakes him up, burns his
Yep.
hand and wakes him up. And the kids are like, this is going to burn your house down someday, Uncle Red. You got to stop this. You can't be smoking all the time. As they all wake up, and Red is done with this. He's like, is this some kind of prank you guys are playing on me? What's going on? I mean, I've already spent this money. Clearly he had the special one round
Yep.
silver bullet made, and then he's spent all this money that he could have spent on other means to send his parents on this trip to create this environment. Is this some kind of prank? What the heck is going on here?
Yeah,
And
I can't
then,
remember. Do they show the time at this point? Right?
almost. Yeah. So, and this is actually kind of funny because as he's going on his rant, he says it's 10 to 3 in the morning,
Yeah.
and nothing's going on. And I was literally watching that scene at 10 to 3 in the morning.
Did you start looking around?
I was like, wait, what's going on? But yeah, I knew that timing would line right up. And then you see the werewolf is coming.
Yep.
And so the suspense starts building. And then you hear a scream because there he is in the mirror, in the reflection. Janie
Yep.
saw it. And she screams, and Red jumps, and he goes to look out the window. And there's nothing at the window. And then he's like, you kids are pulling a prank on me. I know it. So he takes the silver bullet out of the gun. And you know what that means because this is a movie.
Yep.
The power gets cut. Red freaks out. He's got bullet in one hand, gun in the other. Werewolf comes jumping in.
Yeah, got the
Bullet
wheel
and
open.
gun. Bullet and gun go flying. He's got the wheel
Yep.
open. And there he is, the one-eyed werewolf. That's a good view of him there, I think.
That's a really good. Like they show that face moving too in the movie. It's really done well for a prosthetic mask.
Yep. And I got to show you mine at the end of this. And then I guess he picks up Red and tosses him across the screen. And you can see, if you look at his rear end real closely, he's got the wires attached in a thing underneath his pants there. But
Yep.
but they toss somebody across the screen, across the room, and then the werewolf goes and picks up Janie, like picks her up by her neck.
In the meantime, the gun and the bullet went flying across the room somewhere else.
They're all over the place.
Yeah.
And the crippled boy in the wheelchair is trying to chase them down each part to put them back together. And there it is. It's the one-eyed werewolf. I thought they did such a great job with these close-up shots of the eyes.
Yeah, for sure.
I really like how they did that, and then this one got the snout in there a little bit.
Well, they also did a good job because they actually shine a red light at them, and they were white enough that it reflected, as opposed to like trying to light them up from behind and making it look, goofy or something, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, lighting is killer. For the most part, they did a good job with lighting. The mom's photograph scene, that was a little different, but everything else was good.
Yeah, but that I think might have been semi-intentional, right? Because that's like such a throwback to what you'd see, like, taking pictures of like you said, your kids sleeping underneath the Christmas tree, or, everybody's at a party that's been going on and passing out or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. I think that's about perfect. And there he is, getting in their face. It's not the best werewolf makeup, but I really do enjoy this makeup. I think it is a good representation.
Yeah.
And then Marty finds everything and pulls it together. And he's got some trigger discipline there as he puts the wheel back in place, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
This little kid knows how to use his firearms. I don't know if his Uncle Red or who taught him, but somebody sure
Yeah,
did.
and he put the bullet right in the right spot and everything else.
Oh yeah, and he loaded it right away.
Yep.
That may or may not be true. That is not something I will disclose at this time. And then he shoots him, and he hits him in the other freaking eye.
Yep.
So he took out his left eye with the first shot. He took out his right eye with the firing of the gun. And there he goes. He goes down. And I know PNC loves this transformation. I know a lot of people love this transformation as he goes, and they fade it out. It literally, it's almost exactly the same as the transformation techniques that they used in the original Wolfman movie for Lon Chaney.
Yep.
And I love that one too.
It is a really good werewolf or whatever you want to call it, like the transition back to human, right? It's done really, really well.
Yep. As he goes and he fades, and you see the messed up eye on one side and the bloody eye on the other. And then one last gasp of, hey, there's something there to freak everybody out. One last jump scare.
Yep, last jump scare.
And then,
which is really the only jump scare in the entire movie, really.
Well, you kind of had some with the wolf trap or bear trap or whatever.
Well, yeah.
And then that whole scene had a couple little mini jump scares.
Yeah. Of course, these ones that they used to do at the end of all these movies was like everybody's like, it's over, and all of a sudden it's it's like, look at this guy. What up, nerds?
Finally showing up.
Nerds.
I mean, come on, Tony. You weren't watching the whole time? Come on, man. You could have been on this stream. You could have been on this stream. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm cooler than you, dude.
And then you have the cathartic moment when everybody's like, Red's like, oh shit, this was real. Okay, I got to comfort these kids.
I was watching this with Luke, right? And Luke's like, oh, go hug the little girl, not the kid that's got trauma from just killing a man, that he thought was a werewolf that transitioned back to a man.
Yeah. I mean, forget the kid. I mean, he's a boy. He's tough enough. He can handle it, right? He's a man.
That's right.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Hug the little girl, and then, well, the sister does hug the brother, and they have their moment of cathartic resolution.
See, neither of us are crazy.
Neither of us are crazy. Look, he's dead.
Yep.
Are you all right, Marty? And I love his response. Except my legs. He says, what do you mean? I don't think I can walk.
Yes.
That's why we always say in my world, return to prior level of function, right? But that's it, folks. That is Silver Bullet. And it is one of my favorite werewolf movies. I really do love this movie and The Howling and Dog Soldiers and so many more. Werewolf movies are one of my favorite genres.
Yeah, werewolf movies have been done pretty well for the most part. There's been a few, misses, but not many, right?
Did you see oh shoot, I can't think of what it's called. It was simply called Wendigo. It was a Native American 1800s.
Yeah, I saw that
movie.
when it first came out. Yeah.
I thought that was okay. I didn't care for it as much. It wasn't as impactful as some of the others. Tony, we talked about that about 2 hours ago, I think. Yeah, it is the best werewolf transformation that's ever been put on screen.
If you showed up on time, Tony, you wouldn't have to repeat these same things we've already discussed.
Allison, I don't think you're wrong there. There's some interesting things about Gary that I know. um,
um,
I do love was it the third Underworld movie that had Rise of the Lycans?
yeah.
I do like that one.
Well, the cool thing about the Underworld series is they were doing practical effects for a lot of that stuff too, though.
They were,
They
and you
weren't
know
doing
what?
the CD stuff or computer stuff.
Oh, I can't think of his name right now. The big black werewolf guy.
Yeah.
He's actually a writer and producer and helped write the Underworld scripts and has done a lot for that genre of stuff too. I really enjoy his stuff.
Yeah, like I was watching a behind the scenes thing where they showed that one. I think it's in number 2 or maybe it's number 3. Maybe it is Rise of the Vikings, where like they're running down that hallway and there's like werewolves all over on the ceiling and everything. Right, they're coming down that hallway and she's trying to fight them off with that guy, and that was all like people in costumes. It's like holy shit.
Oh yeah, Allison, Troy, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Those are definitely my favorites. I do enjoy some of the other ones, but that is pretty darn close to my list too. And I wish that I could find a copy on physical media of the Werewolf TV show because I loved that show when it came out. I was so engrossed in it, and my sister mostly was freaking out. You shouldn't be watching that. I'm like, it's amazing. She's like, watch Northern Exposure instead. All right, I like that show too, but
Yeah,
this one was amazing. But Allison, yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Those are the best werewolf movies and TV show. That TV show was great.
those are probably the top 5, definitely for sure.
Oh
Werewolf
yeah,
movies. Yeah.
absolutely. And that's also kind of why I want to touch on the Howling at some point too. But that's my preference, and timing matters on these things, so we may have to wait till next year for that one. But I would love to do Billy Jack with you
Yeah,
in the
for sure.
future.
Billy Jack would be fun. I'm down for any of them, man. I like all the old movies. So
Fat Red Shoe, it was simply called Werewolf, and it was a TV show. It was running along the same time as X Files. It was late '80s,
yeah, I was gonna say
maybe
late
early
'80s, early
'90s.
'90s, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, Northern Exposure, X Files, this werewolf show, they all stick in my head as around the same time. But it was simply called Werewolf. And I loved that show. And I was probably too young to be watching it. I'm just. um, and like I said, yeah, Fat Red Food, it's hard to find because I can't find it on physical media. Not for any decent amount of price. There might be some bootlegs around somewhere, but
have you watched that new movie that came out a little bit ago called The Last Voyage of the Demeter? It's a vampire movie, but
yeah, no, I know what it is. Yeah, I have not seen it. I'm curious
good
because I've heard
movie.
really mixed reviews on it. Some people love it, some people hate it.
If you're a
I
fan of like these type of movies, you'll like it, right? I
well,
think
and
most
that's
people
what
went into that thinking something like a more modern, vampire type of thing, right? And it's not that.
yeah, right. Yeah, no, it is the telling of that story of Dracula coming over to England in the
Yep.
Bram Stoker's novel, and it involves all the things that happened on the ship as he's coming over.
Yep.
Yeah, Allison. Yeah, it was a Fox series. That's the only other degree I can point to it. Ed, can you entertain people for just a couple of minutes? I
Sure.
gotta run just for a second.
So that was a Fox series. When did that actually come out? Anybody know? I'm trying to look it up. But of course, Google has not been my friend lately. Voyage of the Demeter is still not free. I gotta wait. Is it that good? I really enjoyed the last Voyage of the Demeter, but it depends on what kind of horror movies you really like. It was definitely a lot of good story behind it on top of the actual horror part of it. So that's all right, Bruce. I like the deleterious. That was a ship that came after the Demeter. 1987. I was going to say that had to be earlier than the 90s. Hey, no problem, Fat Refu. Anytime. Anytime you have a question about stuff, hit me up. Because Matthew's over here talking about how he was too young to watch it. If he was too young in the late 90s, man, he's just a spring chick because I was an old dude in the late 90s already. Late 80s, early 90s, I guess. (1987). There's all sorts of cool stuff that came out in 1987. How old were you in 87, Matthew?
87. I was what, 10?
Oh, so you were right about that age where you probably shouldn't have been, but you were definitely going to.
Oh yeah, I was watching Arsenio Hall and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah,
I loved Arsenio Hall. In 3 weeks. Well, happy birthday. A little early, but we'll get there. Happy birthday.
3 weeks. Happy birthday, Fat Refu.
Yeah, so there,
go ahead.
No, I was just like, yeah, you got to be careful the way you word things sometimes.
Yeah.
Autocorrect. There was another one, starring the guy from Eureka, Ed something or other, called Werewolf. Oh shoot, I actually like that one a lot too. It was like a direct to DVD movie or something. But yeah,
that's the bad part about like all these streaming services is you type in like werewolf movie or something, right? Or vampire or something like that. Or there's so many just like B and C grade movies out there about those. It's just like, oh my God, these movies are horrible.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of them that are just garbage.
Yep.
But on occasion you'll find one that's actually somewhat entertaining.
Yep. For sure. Yeah, I try, like if I get bored, I go through like, Tubi or something and I'll pop one on. I'm like, I give it about 10 minutes before I finally make a decision on whether it's going to be worth it or not. And then I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. Ed Quinn. I don't know if you know him, but
Ed Quinn. I know who he is. Yeah. I mean, I don't know who he is, but I know who he is.
Right. Yeah. He's the Bradley Cooper double.
Yep.
Werewolf, the Beast Among Us. I actually did like that story.
What was the name of that one?
Werewolf, the Beast Among Us.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen that, but I did see a trailer for it.
So I have the unrated cut. I do actually like that. Basically, it's it's a werewolf who is the werewolf. The town's trying to figure out, okay, they clearly have a werewolf. And so they're trying to hire hunters to find it. And this team of hunters led by Ed Quinn comes into town. Each one of them has special abilities. So, each one of them is semi-supernatural, if not supernatural as well. And you're trying to figure out who the werewolf is. And you find out there's two, not just one. And then you kind of find out the history and stuff. And the way it all plays out and the way the story develops, I want to see the sequel. You know, I want to see a sequel when the team of werewolf hunters has a werewolf on their team, or team of monster hunters has the werewolf on their team. You know, so it's Ed Quinn and Guy Wilson, and there's a couple other people that you probably recognize from some other smaller projects or background type of people, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
Those are the kind of good movies, right? The ones that weren't really mainstream, but still end up being good because there's not many people that actually, you know, check them out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem with a lot of those movies, is that at some point they all go sideways and they don't work out quite the way you want them to.
There's a couple of different movies like that, right? Where there's a vampire on the train and it's going through like some old Western, you know, backcountry, and
Yep.
Those movies are, some of those movies start out so good, and then at the end they're just like, you know, a complete right-hand turn, and you're just like, you were doing so good, why did you screw everything up?
What's that? Dog Soldiers. I love that movie. Yeah, no, Dog Soldiers is worth a purchase, man. If you get a chance to see that movie, you know, I've almost bought the I don't know if it was Shout Factory or one of these other companies came out with like this special super edition of it, and I almost bought that edition because I do really like that movie so much.
Oh, we'll have to do that movie time too.
Well, I'd love to, for sure. We've got to put that on the list.
I guess it really doesn't matter what you do with Lawrence because he's never seen any of these movies anyway.
It's so funny. You know, we're trying to do some movies that he has seen and some movies that he hasn't seen. And I'm really pushing for a lot of the ones he hasn't, because he hasn't seen so many iconic movies.
Right. Yeah, like who's 47 years old or whatever and hasn't seen Raiders of the Lost Ark? How is that possible?
Exactly. It's too much in the cultural zeitgeist. I mean,
yeah,
whatever. You know, there's people of all ages that haven't seen stuff, but you know,
the one thing is true though, like Indiana Jones series, right? The three original movies that are the ones that are really Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
those weren't played a lot on even like HBO and stuff. You know, they were not like readily available. Like Star Wars was always all over the place, right? The Indiana Jones series, they kind of just kept that off of like, you know, the Saturday afternoon, you know, TV view and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's all good stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there.
Horror
Express. That's awesome. I love Lovecraftian horror. That spatial, time dimensional, interdimensional type of horror, demon type of thing, I think is a lot of fun. Yeah, Shout Factory and Scream, they do a lot of good special effects with the stuff that they've been putting out lately. I do like those a lot. Metropolis, I love that movie.
Yeah.
You know, it is the basis for C-3PO in a lot of ways. It's the basis for AI and the whole conversation that we've had with robotic, scientific, or sci-fi intervention stuff. You know what? I kind of do too. I get my kids to watch all the good 80s stuff.
Yeah, right.
My kid loves 80s music, and she loves Star Trek, the 1960s series. She wants to watch that almost every night. She loves Doctor Who. She loves Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, did good, man. Did good, man.
I'm pretty proud. She loves Batman and Ninja Turtles also, so I'm ecstatic.
Yep.
You know, she loves Phineas and Ferb, and I love that show too. I mean,
Phineas and Ferb is probably one of the best animated series that's come out of anywhere in a long time.
I was amazed as an adult watching that, how good that was. Dexter's Laboratory is another good one.
But Dexter's Laboratory was good too. Yep.
But she's watching that, and she does like Bluey, and Bluey has its moments, but I think she'll outgrow that soon. But Bluey is a good show for young kids.
Yes.
All right. Nice job. And thank you so much, everybody,
Hey,
for joining us.
this is a good time.
Appreciate you, Ed, coming on and filling in here for us. Glad to have you on another time. Anytime we're talking cryptic or werewolf type of movies, we'll definitely keep you in mind.
Don't worry, I'll send Lawrence my my fee for my presentation.
Good. Perfect.
My appearance fees. I'll send him the invoice for that.
All right, sounds good. Anything you have coming up? You guys are doing Salma.
What is today?
Coming up, right?
Today's Thursday, right?
Thursday. Yep.
Oh yeah. So Saturday night I'll probably be on the Oz Saturday Night Clubhouse, and then Sunday night we'll be moderating for Hella Dope Toys, and then yes, next Tuesday at 8:30 on my channel we'll be discussing the Silmarillion.
Awesome.
Yes.
I love it. I've got my regular photos that are coming up every day. I put out new stuff on my Instagram, and I've got a low light collab coming up on Sunday, and Wednesday will be another one I'm sure coming up. We just did one this week, so check it out. People are liking my new turtles. I got some new turtles action figures, so those are pretty cool.
Fat Red Foo, you should send that over to Matthew. He's working on a pretty cool dio. He's been posting pictures on Instagram. It's actually, he's building a dio off of a painting or a drawing. I think it was a pencil sketch that a person had done. So he's trying to build a dio, and it's like a werewolf based drawing. So
nice. I love it. I'm always looking for stuff to put my werewolves in the back of, and like I said before, this guy right here is probably going to be my figure of the year. This veteran William figure has so many different options that you can do with him. He's just absolutely amazing, posable with options and everything. I love him.
Does he stand all right with the werewolf type feet?
Amazing. I mean,
really?
No stands necessary. I've posed him in the back arch position. I've posed him in a stalking position. He's got big enough feet.
Yeah, I guess they are big, pretty big. So.
Yeah, and so even with the disjointed articulation for the werewolf legs, you can situate that. I mean, his pose.
Because that's usually what happens with the werewolves. They have that leg kick and they never stand up correctly.
So I love the creature replica werewolf.
Yeah.
But his feet are terrible. He looks amazing, and so if you shoot him from the waist up, he's about perfect. But the downward side of that is that his feet, he has no ankle rotation, so he doesn't stand quite right. But yeah. All right. That's it for tonight, folks. We appreciate you guys coming in and visiting with us, and we got through this in just about 2.5 hours, so I didn't quite we didn't quite make 3, but thanks for joining us, and we appreciate everybody who's watching, and have a good night. We'll see you guys next time.
Everybody.